Okay, welcome to the Colorado HIMSS webinar on burnout, combating burnout and improving your coping skills. We are so grateful to have Ryan Bittinger, Doctor of Psychotherapy and Clinical Training Manager for the Maria Droste Counseling Center with us today, along with his colleague, Esra, and I'm going to let you pronounce your last name so that we can respect its beautiful pronunciation. But we are so grateful to have you here today. This will be a dynamic conversation. And again, it is being recorded for the first portion. When we pop into breakout sessions, it will not be recorded. And if I could just ask folks to go on mute, since we are in a meeting format, just to respect the content, that would be great. So Ryan, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and Esra, and we'll kick it off. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Ryan Bittinger, and I'm Clinical Training Manager at Maria Drost Counseling Center, as Holly said. And I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Esra Nutku-Bilir, who has a fascinating training background of an MD and a PhD, and has worked in medical research. And I'll let Esra say anything else she wants to say about her background.
Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be here to discuss such an important topic here. And I want to thank you, Ryan and Holly, for making this happen. I have been with Maria Drost Counseling since 2019. I do work with seniors and adults from age 20 to 98, I guess. And I also work with victims of trauma, domestic violence. And I have a medical and science background, and I have an MS, Master of Science degree in counseling, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you so much.
We wanted to introduce ourselves, although we probably know each other as an agency. Who are we? Maria Drost is an organization of mental health professionals, learners, and volunteers, all together serving in our community. I think the uniqueness about us is we are very community-centered. We are trying to be accessible as possible as we can be, and providing quality of mental health counseling and clinical training for people who need that service, and regardless of their ability to pay. I think those are the common features that defines us.
So here we just wanted to kind of outline what you can expect from us today. And we're going to take you through thinking about what burnout is, how you're going to recognize it, what might lead to burnout, what might occur during burnout, what those consequences are. Then we'll talk about some strategies to prevent or manage burnout when it starts to arrive. Throughout this, we've sprinkled some interactive moments where we want you to be reflective about self-care and burnout for yourself. So have something ready to take notes. It could be pen and paper, phone, laptop, whatever works for you. And then we'll have some resources at the end and some question and answer time, hopefully, as well. We'll use breakout rooms for activities a couple times as well, because we want to make sure it's kind of dynamic and you get to engage and really think about what this is. We don't want to just lecture about burnout.
We wanted to start with the definition of burnout. Before going to the details of this slide, I just want to refer to recent publications very briefly, just to see what our social environment is feeling and doing about burnout. American Psychological Association just published, just this last 1 year, many articles on parental burnout. to support parents who are going through pandemic in their own private homes while working at the same time homeschooling for their kids. So they were trying to divide their responsibilities to sustain their lives. And then recently published data also suggests that among physicians, female physicians have more occurrence of burnout just basically due to the, again, diversity of their responsibilities during this pandemic. They were the professional, they were the mom, they were the wife, they were the teacher. So, and APA, American Psychological Association, is also going to publish a book about physician burnout, just to provide some guidelines to physicians. So there's so much recognition going on in our social environment, and I'm happy to be here today to discuss this topic. The term burnout was first described by an American psychologist, Herbert Freudenberger, back in 70s. It describes, this term describes the consequences of severe stress and high ideals in helping professions. And it's defined originally as, and currently as, occupational phenomenon. It's not a medical condition. In fact, World Health Organization defines it, burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. Next slide, please.
An interesting thought that Esra and I had about that management portion was it leaves open the question of whose responsibility is it to manage burnout? And that kind of idea of mismanagement just left me wondering, is the burden of that on professionals? Is that on us as individuals, or is some of that burden shared by our organizations as well? I don't have a clear answer for that question, but just that last bit from the World Health Organization's definition really made me think, who do we expect to manage this? And I think that might be one contributor to burnout, is the expectation that we're each supposed to do this on our own, not bring it to work, not expect support with it. We have a little exercise now. Here are some examples of symptoms. These are just basic things that you might be experiencing at work. Are you becoming cynical or critical? Do you feel like you have to drag yourself to work and it's really hard to get started? Are you irritable and impatient with coworkers, customers, or clients? Are you feeling out of energy? Is it difficult for you to focus on tasks? Do you lack satisfaction with things that are going well? Do you feel disillusioned? Are you using substances or food to feel better or to feel nothing? Are you sleeping well? And do you have a lot of unexplained physical health symptoms? So what we'd like you to do is take that pen and paper, phone, laptop, whatever you chose to take some notes with, and just write down how many of these you say yes to. And we'll just wait about 30, 60 seconds for that. And this is, as Holly said at the beginning, more interactive than a lot of webinars, which is why we're in this meeting format rather than the webinar Zoom format. So if you would like to unmute, if you have realized that you have a lot of yeses. Is anyone surprised by the number of yeses they have? We'll go ahead to the next slide.
We identified risk factors, and we will do a little bit of an exercise at the end of this slide too. So let's hold on to those pen and papers and our thoughts. There are individual factors, sounds like, and there are other factors. Individual factors, the personality traits. family life, work-life struggles, the balance between work and life, being a helping professional, feeling of no control in the work environment. Now, important factors of the workplace that contributes to burnout: chaotic environment, loss of control, insufficient rewards, breakdown of community, absence of fairness and conflicting values, work overload. This work overload piece includes time pressure and information overload. Somehow the data suggests that, in fact, this factor 6 here, the work overload, actually adds up to the rest of the factors quite significantly. And I just want to invite you to reflect on these. I believe COVID pandemic, year 2020, and we're still having the effects of post-COVID. We have gone through many of these circumstances where we felt these factors in an exaggerated manner, even in our lives. So I want to invite you to reflect on the individual factors and workplace factors. Are you noticing any of these is acting in your life currently? This is a reflection exercise. Please take your time. Feel free to bring any questions, any reflections, if you feel comfortable. And next slide, please. Next slide.
So there's a lot of different consequences to burnout, and some of them are maybe even surprising to us. And I'm sure that many of us have felt these at various points in the last 2 years, and will be faced with them in the near future. So the consequences are that feeling of being so stressed out that you can hardly function. You can hardly look at work, and yet you're constantly thinking about all the work you have to do. Fatigue, just feeling exhausted all the time, and yet being unable to sleep, insomnia. And unpredictable and unusual for your own character levels of sadness, anger, irritability, and anxiety. Any psychological mental health issues that you struggle with are probably going to be exacerbated by this, by burnout. So, if you normally know you struggle with generalized anxiety or major depression, you're much more likely to have an increase in your symptoms from that as a result of burnout. It can lead to relationship issues. You're always stressed, you're never present in your relationship, and you're really needing a lot of support in your relationship. That can lead to a lot of conflict with friends, family, partners. Alcohol and other substance use definitely increases as a way to cope with stress or avoid stress. And the level of stress that you're under can lead to increase in severity or onset of heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and it leaves you more vulnerable to illnesses in general. Your immune system is compromised when you're in burnout. Next slide.
We prepared a couple of consequent slides to now start discussing how to handle burnout. And the first thing came to our mind, we need to be ready for the change. And that is social and emotional preparedness to recognize burnout, recognizing and being ready to change. We identified 3 basic components that contributes to this readiness: information, awareness, and action. So these three components look like connected to each other in a linear form, meaning information leads to more increase in awareness, and that initiates the action. That brings us to the question. The second question is, what are the simple and effective techniques of troubleshooting burnout in our day-to-day life? However, social and emotional preparedness to recognize something, and including burnout, is a continuous process. It's a dynamic process. We need to actively be involved. It requires our active involvement. That brings to me the intention setting, really consciously setting the intention for change to recognize, and sometimes maybe revisit the intention and set another intention just towards that change. So that is, what are the sustainable solutions for long term to handle the burnout? I hope this presentation today, our discussions today, are going to help us, for us to identify, for each of us to identify what are the components for us and what are these components that we can learn more and set our intention. I set an intention for myself. I want to share, if I can find it. Okay, I can. My intention is to read more about burnout, to gather information. So that's where I will start. I want to give like 30 seconds just for us to think about our intention, and then we can continue.
And continuing with the theme of managing, handling burnout, sense of community and power of communication are very important factors. And that's the good news. You're not alone. This is becoming an increasing topic of conversation. And a recent publication by Anthony Gostick and colleagues focused on anxiety at work. And he says that people are speaking out their mental wellness more than ever. Businesses and people managers become part of this conversation, packed with simple techniques to help team leaders identify the causes and triggers of anxiety in the workplace. So the modern working world is affecting our mental health. It's undeniable. Seeking out community, whether that's at the workplace or outside the workplace, is essential. How can we help our team leaders, or our team, if we are the leaders, to identify the causes and triggers of burnout in the workplace and have open and honest communication about them? Do you feel that you're safe enough in your workplace, emotionally, socially, and financially? Do you feel that you fulfill your job responsibilities? Do you feel you have enough support in facing those challenges in your workplace? And so it's a very difficult atmosphere to have that conversation at work. These are not necessarily workplace norms, and that varies from depending on what field you're in. And historically, vulnerability has not been as prized in the medical field as in some other fields. So coming into a work meeting and saying, I'm not sure if I can do this, I'm feeling really overwhelmed and stressed, has not been the norm in the past. However, we're beginning to recognize that without doing that, there's no way that we can address those issues. There's no way that we could maybe find very simple solutions, such as like, oh, actually, I'm feeling really great today. I could probably take that task and help you out with that. And just managing that and being honest. But that all starts with vulnerability. That all starts with us as individuals being able to say, I'm not doing so well. And with us as leaders being able to ask our colleagues and our direct reports, are you guys doing okay? And I've found in my leadership role that it's very helpful to present some vulnerability of my own in order to start this conversation. And that can be as simple as me saying to the people that report to me, hey, just so you guys know, like I had a really rough couple of weeks. I've been pretty overwhelmed at work, and I want to apologize if I haven't gotten back to your emails. But since we're having this conversation, I just want to honestly let you guys know that I'm struggling with burnout. And that has opened the door for a lot of them to say, actually, I'm having a hard time with that too. And then to examine as a department, what's leading to that? Maybe there's some solutions, or maybe we can agree on a set of priorities that allows us to focus our work without being stressed about things we're not talking about. So joining in that conversation with colleagues allows us to further emotionally metabolize these experiences, preventing us from letting them get too deeply into our personal lives. Yeah, definitely. I think there ends up being such a focus on helping other people. And most people, would say that they got into their helping role, they got into medicine to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a big part of what drives them. But it's so crucial to acknowledge that you have to be at some level of wellness yourself to provide the best care that you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll go to the next slide, please.
Great. Thank you, Ryan.
And importance of self-care when we are handling the burnout. This is a relatively new concept. We haven't learned this when we were growing up during our intense educational years, right? What is self-care? It has many, many components, and Ryan actually will be taking you from a little journey to explore this more. So I will briefly introduce this here. Self-care has components, include sleep. Sleep is our invisible workplace. The body works during sleep, detoxes, the brain is detoxing, resting, our emotions, thoughts, resting, part of our brain function. The body is renewing itself, it's working. We need sleep, yet we do ignore sleep. One of the authors actually that I will be referring here referred to this as a giver syndrome, because we are so focused on giving, but are we really taking time for ourselves to kind of catch up? Our social network, very important part of the self-care. And this networking is really meaningful connections, meaning we have connections, but we are involved in that present moment, in that relationship with the other, with each other. Are we doing this? Recharging the bubble of love around us. And compassion for others and self. I love the word compassion because it is, it's the embodiment of love, acceptance, and non-judgment in my understanding. It's beautiful. Really exploring the compassion more for others and self. So focusing on the setting goals for self-care, then I would like to ask you, what is one activity that I can do for self-care every day? I would like to invite you to think about this for 30 seconds, write it down. Writing is always wonderful.
Actually,
Different age of technology we're experiencing, especially with COVID, it kind of, there was a speeding up on that evolution of technology, how we are more connected online, yet we don't prefer that. But maybe this is also one alternative, maybe using more apps, more social networking, but that are going to be where we will feel connected. Yet really using this as a tool for our self-care and connectedness in that busy life, but making it individually modified for ourselves based on our needs, not what is given to us online. So is that clear? I am not sure, but I just want to bring that piece of opportunity of technology and how we can get connected with intention and consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of examples are you thinking of? I mean, if you were to actually provide, I mean, frankly, I don't find a lot of the, I don't get a lot from the social media. I feel like it's very surface, and I don't find depth of return from that. I think for me, it's face-to-face interaction, and it's also, being committed to some sort of gathering that's, frequent or routine that allows me to develop those relationships. And I think that's why work is so easy. But it's nice to have something outside of work. And I'm not a churchgoer, so or it's working with, like Colorado HIMSS, right? But it's finding that niche. It used to be soccer. I used to play adult soccer. Physically, I can't do that anymore. But so I think it's just finding that niche, and I think having the time to invest so that you are seeing these people that are in that same niche or have those same interests more frequently, so you can develop those relationships, I guess.
Definitely. I agree, Bonnie. And I thank you for that question. It's a valid question we all have in our minds. One thing that has been shown, however, is really developing that identity outside of the work too. That really is a wonderful motivation. Your hobby, your that activity that relaxes you, but then really focusing on that and really start integrating that consciously aligned alongside of the work, of course, that identity helps. Well, connecting to people, maybe groups online, but then maybe making it real face-to-face meetings, like creating that community of connectedness. So those are the things, but we will talk about those more. So I just want to leave those discussions, and it's a wonderful question. Thank you. Full look to life. We need to be aware. What are we? What is our intention? What we want for ourselves, and take the action. It's a project management, almost like evaluate your options. Utilize emotional regulation, meaning we are just witnessing emotions around us in our workplace, anger, frustration, anxiety. Well, let's acknowledge those. Awareness of emotions and how they affect us. How is that anger of the other colleague is affecting us? Seek support. There are individual, couples, family, group counseling options, of course. Do something for yourself. And that was the piece I was referring when I was trying to answer to Bonnie's question. Explore ways to grow, renew, charge. And really getting that identity out of the work. Finding who you really are, what you want out of that day. Focus on finding an identity outside of the work. Get some sleep. Sleep, it's an unquestionable, crucial component. Sleep deprivation increases depression. Sleep deprivation increases anxiety. Power of exercise. Beautiful endorphins are increasing. Cortisol, the stress hormone, decreasing with exercise. There is this wonderful resetting mechanism that is available to us. Breathing and exercise. Those are our two reset mechanisms against stress. Acceptance, compassion, and no judgment. No judgment, just taking the journey. Next slide, please.
Okay, so this brings us to a longer exercise that we can do as a group. Folks have identified kind of 8 dimensions of wellness. And within this, I want you to, keep these dimensions in mind. I'll take a note because I always forget at least one. Emotional, occupational, intellectual, environmental, financial, social, physical, and spiritual. And Holly, we could do this as a large group. And before you stop the recording, I'll just say to those watching this later that the exercise is essentially just to go through these 8 dimensions and write down what you currently do within each of those areas to support your well-being. And don't have any judgment. Don't try to make up things that you're not actually doing. Write down what you actually do for each of these areas. And after that, move into thinking about which ones are lacking or which ones are maybe completely ignored, and what some activities you can do that would stimulate those parts of yourself. For those of you watching later, just to recap some things that came up for us, I'll just share that we really emphasized with these 8 dimensions of wellness that it's not only about what you do, but sometimes about what you not do, what you don't do. And so, for example, setting limits within the social realm to manage your social energy. So a form of social self-care might be seeing tons of people, but for other people, it might be only doing 3 social things a week or something like that. And I also asked the participants to really reflect on if there's any area that is completely or almost completely neglected for them. And I shared that many years ago, the first time I looked at this, I realized that I completely neglect the spiritual and financial. And so I had to think about what I wanted those things to look like without letting others' definitions of those things get in my way. And with that, we'll go to the next slide. So this is Wellness Recovery Action Plan, or WRAP. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because it's really something that you can only do with yourself at specific moments. It's a method of maintaining wellness, but unlike lots of anti-burnout and wellness activities, you have to do this one when you're doing really well. When you notice you're having a great day or a great week, pause and write down, what are you doing? What hobbies are you engaging in? What activities are you doing? How are you scheduling things? And it could be as in the micro of like, this morning I feel really good, so let me think about what happened yesterday, last night, and this morning that might help me recreate that in the future. So it's about taking what is currently working, writing it down. And that's a very important part, because when you're in the midst of burnout or depression or a moment of anxiety, it's so difficult to think, what makes me feel better? So I would really encourage you all to do that at the moments that you're feeling good. Write down those notes for yourself so you can come back. And with that, we'll go to the next slide. And I think Esra's going to take us through a mindfulness exercise.
Yeah, I would like to practice with you, all of you, an exercise that's going to be like 15 minutes. It's a reflection, breath work, and relaxation exercise. It has different components. And I would like to invite you to this exercise with the idea that we will be relaxing, closing our eyes, and whenever you feel uncomfortable, with a thought or emotion, please open your eyes and just bring yourself to our present moment and just stay with us, but you don't need to continue. So with that, I really would like to invite you to relax on your chair where you're sitting. Just getting to that relaxed mode, maybe a little bit of stretches. And I want to welcome you to this practice. We are here where we will melt away our stress and invite sense of space into our mind, body, and heart. Please feel free that you're relaxed and your back is straight, yet well supported. And it's my pleasure to share this practice with you today. Beginning with, please let's start with closing down our eyes and offering ourselves a gentle smile. A smile for your commitment to this practice than just being busy. For commitment to connect with self. And I would like to draw your attention to the natural flow of your inhales. Your eyes are gently closed. Just visualize in your mind's eye, an inhale in through the nose, and just the flow of the air flowing out from the mouth. Just regular rhythm of inhales and exhales, please. Noticing the gentle rise and fall of the chest with each inhale. Noticing the soft expanse of body, your belly with each inhale. And the air in your mind's eye going in through the nose, relaxing, and going out through the mouth. It's moving in and out with a flow. If thoughts, emotions, memories come, it's okay. Let's offer them a smile and return our attention to the flow of the air, how it's going in and out. Focusing on the chest and belly, how the muscles are moving in and out with each breath. Noticing any sense of arriving to your body through this practice. With each breath, this sense of arriving is connecting to your body. You're arriving to your body. If you notice any tension in the forehead, eyes, with each breath, let's relax those muscles. A nice inhale to the front head and exhale to relax the muscles in the forehead, eyes. Gentle flow of air in and out, but we are scanning our body right now. A nice inhale down to the neck, back of the head. And exhale to release any tension that you notice. A nice inhale to the shoulders and arms. And exhale, just feeling your shoulders are dropping down. Arms are getting heavier even with the exhale. A nice inhale to the upper chest, Feel how the diaphragm is moving and release with an exhale. If you feel that you need to stretch during these inhales and exhales, please do so. We are opening more space in our body. A nice inhale to the abdomen. Softening the exhale and letting go. Any thoughts, any emotions that you notice, letting it all go with each exhale. A nice inhale all the way down to the hips. Feeling the hips touching the chair that you're sitting, you're safe, you're supported, and exhale to release. Allowing the sense of relaxation moving down, all the way down to hips. And exhale. A nice inhale all the way down to upper legs, knees. And exhale to release any tension, relaxing the ligaments, muscles. The earth is supporting you. Feel your body is getting even heavier with each exhale. Let's inhale all the way down in through the nose to our ankles, feet, toes. Feel your toes and the earth supporting you. Now the sense of relaxation moves up. A nice inhale down to legs and exhale to release. With each breath, relaxing a little bit more and sinking, yet safely, you're supported. Let's inhale, feeling of ease, peace, and exhale to release. And from this peace offering, let's repeat some phrases silently in our minds while we are connected to our soft inhales and exhales. I would like to invite you to repeat these with me in your mind. See how the air is moving. If there's any obstacle that you stop breathing, just let's notice that and reconnect to inhales and exhales. May I be peaceful. May I be courageous. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be happy. Really allowing these wishes to be true for yourself with your body, with these affirmations. Just let's visualize. Your eyes are closed in your mind's eye. Let's breathe these wishes deep into our hearts. May I be peaceful. May I have the courage for change. May I be happy. A nice inhale and exhale. Feeling how these affirmations are interacting with your body space. If there's any hold that you notice any tension, let's inhale to that part of the body and release for relaxation. I would like to offer you a question. If your heart had a wish, what would that be? A nice inhale and exhale. Just noticing the emotions, how the body is responding, any tension or thoughts comes to your mind. What arises for you? Just noticing what is. Taking a moment now just to imagine what your life would like or feel like if you would follow this one wish. Let's take time. A nice inhale and exhale flowing. Chest is moving in and out. What your life would look like if this wish would come true. If you granted yourself this wish, how would you feel? What would your relationships look like? What is that one thing you would do if you would follow your heart? Connecting and noticing the inhales and exhales, just letting these thoughts or visualizations kind of deeply sinking into your inner space of beingness. I would like to invite you setting an intention for yourself now. An intention to see yourself. How would you like to show up to this world? Nice inhale and exhale, sending this intention all the way deep within your heart. Just like as if you're planting a seed. Now gently rubbing your hands maybe to each other. Just feeling your own warmth. And putting that hand to your heart area. Feeling the warmth and the compassionate self, intentional self. Now, can we move forward through our day with the intention in our mind, with the compassion that we have for ourselves and others? Now, gently focusing on this intention and gentle flow of the air, I would like to invite you to open your eyes gently and just feel where your hand is on your chest or on your lap, moving your fingers just to bring you back to our room. And thank you for sharing this practice. I would really like to invite everyone, if they feel comfortable, to share the observations or the experience and what to take out from this exercise going forward. Thank you.
So after various activities and presentation, we just want to check in before closing and see if anyone has any questions they'd like answered.
Any questions? These are great tools, and I will really look forward to sharing this with our community. in the hopes that they put some of it into practice, because I think if you take the time to acknowledge where you are and then check in and truly hone in on what self-care and that balance means to you, it can have a massive impact. So, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for watching this later as well. Thanks for hosting us, Holly. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And please don't forget to include the Maria Drost organization in your Colorado Gives Day. You know, again, it is a not-for-profit, and they provide mental health services to anyone. And I think this community can benefit from that, but also contribute to, the betterment of Colorado's population. So we're very grateful for what you do, and we look forward to weaving you into the rest of our programming throughout the year.
Thank you, Holly. I want to thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Wonderful to work with you as always. Brianna, Bonnie, and Rob, thank you for being here and sharing this. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so much.
everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Enjoy your weeks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.